You've probably seen this happen in your own town. A main street that was once kind of forgotten suddenly starts buzzing with new life. But how does that actually happen? Well, we're going to unpack a really fascinating thesis from MIT that pulls back the curtain on the two powerful and often competing forces that are shaping the future of our downtowns. This is the story of how our cities are being reborn.
This quote from Joe Stroud just hits the nail on the head, right? Revitalizing a city is this delicate dance between holding on to the soul of a place and rocketing it into the future. But as we're about to see, different people have very, very different ideas about who should be leading that dance.
Okay, so first, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. Before we dive into the how of it all, we really need to understand the why. We're talking about this incredible mission to bring the very heart of our communities back to life.
I mean, think about it. For decades, the story was one of decline. People and businesses started flocking to suburban malls, and those historic main streets, the ones that used to be the center of everything, they just kind of got left behind. But now, the tide is absolutely turning. Residents are tired of seeing empty storefronts, and developers are realizing that these urban cores are the next great frontier.
So all this new interest brings two major players onto the stage, and each one has a totally different script for how this revival should go down. And just to be clear, this isn't a story about heroes and villains. It's really a clash of two fundamentally different philosophies.
The MIT thesis we're looking at points out that the relationship between these two groups can get, pretty tense. They're both trying to fix the same street, but their goals, their methods, their timelines, they can be so different that it turns into a real tug of war over the identity of the entire neighborhood.
And here are the two playbooks, side by side. On one hand, you have the community-driven model. This is all about local owners and residents focusing on slow, organic growth. The goal? To preserve the neighborhood's unique character. On the other hand, you've got the developer-driven approach. This is about for-profit, high-impact change, usually backed by a ton of private investment, all aimed at a swift transformation, and of course, a healthy financial return.
Now, to really understand the developer's perspective, we've got to zoom in on the one number that honestly rules them all. It's the key that unlocks why they make the choices they do. And we're talking about something called the cap rate.
It's the million-dollar question, right? Sometimes quite literally. When you've got that much money on the line, how do you actually weigh the pros and cons and decide to pull the trigger on a massive project? Well, the answer lies in a surprisingly simple little formula.
So what in the world is a cap rate? Well, in the simplest terms, it's a ratio that tells an investor what their potential return on a property would be if they just bought it with cash. The best way to think about it is like taking the project's financial pulse. It gives you a quick snapshot of its health and how profitable it could be.
And you seriously don't need a finance degree to get it. It's 3 simple steps. First, you take the property's value, what it costs to buy it. Second, you figure out its net operating income, or NOI. That's just all the money it brings in a year minus all the costs to run the place, like taxes and upkeep. And finally, you just divide that income number by the property's value. That's it.
So let's just put it all together one more time. Net operating income divided by property value. That simple percentage is the cap rate, and trust me, it drives countless decisions in the world of commercial real estate.
So what does this percentage actually tell you? Generally, a lower cap rate, say around 4%, means lower risk, but also a lower return. Think of a super stable building in a perfect location. As that cap rate goes up, so does the potential payday, but so does the risk. A lot of developers are looking for something in that 8% sweet spot, while the more aggressive investors might hunt for projects that could hit 10% or more, knowing full well it comes with a lot more uncertainty. This one calculation is absolutely fundamental to how a developer sees the world.
Okay, so let's move this from abstract numbers to actual bricks and mortar on the street. The MIT thesis gives us 4 fantastic case studies that show these two visions playing out in real cities. So on the developer-driven side, you get these massive projects. We're talking about things like Harlem, USA, a 275,000 square foot retail and entertainment complex, and Misner Park down in Boca Raton, a huge mixed-use development that was built right on top of a failed shopping mall. These aren't small tweaks. These are bold, large-scale statements designed to completely change an area and, you guessed it, achieve a really strong cap rate.
This table really just lays out the whole divide perfectly. You have the developer-led heavyweights, Misner Park and Harlem, USA, going for that massive, immediate transformation. But in contrast, you have Washington Gateway in Boston and Payne Avenue in St. Paul. They took the community path, using what's called the Main Street model for gradual, locally focused change that's fueled by volunteers and grants. Two totally different philosophies, four very different results.
So, after comparing these two different approaches, where does that leave us? What's the actual best way to build a better future for our main streets?
Well, here's the big takeaway from all the research. This shouldn't be a competition. Why? Because on their own, both models have a pretty serious flaw. The purely community model often just doesn't have the funding or scale to make a big enough impact, and the purely developer model can sometimes lack soul, ignoring the local character that makes a place special to begin with. The real magic, the thesis argues, happens when you create a hybrid, something that combines the financial horsepower of a developer with the local passion and knowledge of the community.
And the research offers a pretty clear roadmap for how to do it. You create real incentives to get developers talking with the community from day one, not after the plans are already drawn up. You focus on blending, mixing new architecture with historic buildings, and big national brands with those beloved local shops. You empower a community group to be the bridge between everyone. And finally, you connect all these revitalized main streets so they can learn from each other's wins and losses.
So, I'll leave you with this final thought. The next time you see scaffolding go up on your city's main street, you'll be able to see beyond just the construction. You'll understand that push and pull between different goals. And maybe, just maybe, you won't just see a new building going up, you'll see the outline of a whole new vision for your community's future.